Your Name, Weathering with You, and Suzume form a trilogy. These films by Makoto Shinkai should be perceived as a cohesive whole, as a work that delves into overcoming global, terrifying, and collective tragedies. This trilogy explores how Makoto Shinkai, along with all of Japan, seeks answers to existential questions. Why do disasters happen? Who is to blame? Can they be prevented? And what should be done after they occur? This is a trilogy about how Makoto Shinkai moved through denial and bargaining to the acceptance of unpredictable and inevitable catastrophes. In this video essay, I will demonstrate this journey. Makoto Shinkai is one of the most well-known and popular anime directors today, with some even calling him the next Miyazaki. However, the similarities between them are few. While Hayao Miyazaki creates fantastical worlds filled with vibrant heroes and the most peculiar creatures, Shinkai works with a realistic world, albeit with enhancements. In his early works, such as The Place Promised in Our Early Days and 5 centimeters per second, these enhancements were often rooted in science fiction and modern technology. An enormous tower built by the Soviet Union on Hokkaido Island, a space probe destined to drift into the unknown. There is nothing magical in Shinkai's early stories. Moreover, there is hardly anything global. These stories focus on the romantic relationships of the main characters, who face obstacles in being together. Shinkai himself has described the central theme of his early films as the feeling of losing someone close. Although Shinkai's early films exhibit familiar traits, they are quite different from Your Name, Weathering with You, or Suzume. The reason for this shift lies in the tragedy that occurred in 2011. On Friday, March 11, 2011, at 2 p.m., an earthquake struck off the eastern coast of Honshu Island in Japan. The main shock had a magnitude of 9 points, followed by several aftershocks with magnitudes of 7, 7.4, and 7.2. In total, over 400 tremors were recorded. Following the tremors, a tsunami ensued, with wave heights reaching 7 meters, equivalent to a 3-story building. As a result, the city of Rikuzen-Takata in Iwate Prefecture was entirely swept away, with around 5,000 homes submerged. In the town of Yamada, over 9,000 homes were flooded. In the city of Minami-Sanriku, 10,000 residents went missing. The final death toll from the earthquake in Japan reached 19,747 people. This was the strongest earthquake in Japan's recorded history, and, by various estimates, the 7th or 4th strongest earthquake ever recorded globally. But the tragedy didn't end there. The earthquake and tsunami triggered a disaster at the Fukushima nuclear power plant. 3 reactors exploded, and others were damaged and flooded. The Japanese government had to urgently evacuate about 164,000 people from radiation-contaminated areas. Radioactive water from the reactors leaked into the ocean, and radioactive substances spread across Japan. Following the disaster, 53 countries and the European Union banned the import of food products from Japan. Even now, almost 15 years later, the consequences of this disaster remain unresolved. More than 7,000 people permanently left their homes and will never return. The nuclear power plant itself will remain in a decommissioned state for at least another 20 years. During this time of tragedy, Makoto Shinkai was in Tokyo, working on his next film, The Garden of Words. It would be the last of his films not to feature the theme of catastrophes. As Shinkai later recalled, at that moment he was overwhelmed with shame for being an animator, simply making anime. He felt he wasn't contributing to his country during this difficult time. He even considered quitting his job to do something more useful. But fortunately, Shinkai decided to apply his talents to provide solace to the people of Japan, if not to help directly. This led to the creation of Your Name. " Your Name is not just a film about teenagers and body swapping, it is also Makoto Shinkai's self-consolation. What is the premise of Your Name? The main characters, Taki, a boy from Tokyo, and Mitsuha, a girl from the small town of Hida, switch bodies for an unknown reason. They have to navigate their lives considering these switches and gradually get to know each other and fall in love. Unfortunately, they cannot meet because they not only switch bodies, but also travel through time. The town where Mitsuha lives was destroyed by a comet fragment 3 years ago. Most of its residents, including Mitsuha herself, perished in the disaster. Taki embarks on a journey to find a way to switch bodies again and save his beloved. Although at first glance this plot resembles Shinkai's earlier works, it is markedly different in details. Yes, the story still centers on romantic relationships, but instead of technology, it turns to traditional Japanese culture. It is the sake, made in a special way, with a piece of Mitsuha's soul, that allows Taki to switch bodies again and change the past. Additionally, instead of the all-consuming melancholy and longing of his early works, Shinkai introduces light humor and a happy ending in this film. But the main point of this story is the attempt to undo the past. Makoto Shinkai allows his characters to do what ordinary Japanese people dream of, but find unattainable, to go back in time and save their loved ones. Your Name was released just 5 years after the 2011's earthquake, and thousands of viewers who watched the film had lost someone in that tragedy, or knew those who had lost someone, friends, classmates, parents. Shinkai tells them, what if everything could be undone? He gives his fictional characters the chance to fulfill this dream. In this film, Shinkai comforts himself and comforts Japan. The tragedy cannot be undone. It is beyond our power, but at least let us save people. That is what Shinkai is thinking. And this strikes a chord with the audience. Your Name becomes the highest grossing anime in history, surpassing all of Miyazaki's works, and holds this status for the next 5 years. But for Shinkai, this is still not the end. He remains occupied with the theme of great tragedies and cataclysms. We cannot undo technological disasters. We cannot stop tsunamis. We are powerless to prevent earthquakes. All we can do is comfort each other and show how fictional heroes are saved. But there are other disasters to which we have undeniably contributed: global warming, climate change, the destruction of the ozone layer. In his next film, Weathering with You, Makoto Shinkai decides to explore the causes of these tragedies. Is humanity truly to blame, with its selfishness? Weathering with You tells the story of two teenagers once again: Hodaka, who runs away from his parents to a rainy Tokyo, and Hina, who has lost her mother. Hina possesses supernatural abilities. She can summon the sun. Hodaka and Hina decide to make money by selling their cloud-dispelling services. However, Hina is connected to celestial forces, and the more she uses her abilities, the more transparent she becomes. Eventually, she must disappear to restore the weather in Tokyo to normal. In Weathering with You, Shinkai does not undo the tragedy but portrays its process, albeit in a fantastical context. According to the plot, a departure from Japanese traditions, here they are again, led to people ceasing to believe in shamans, causing nature to rebel. Hodaka refuses to let Hina go and prevents her from sacrificing herself, resulting in the continuous rains. Within a few years, Tokyo is almost completely submerged. However, blaming Hodaka and his selfishness is just one perspective. Interestingly and importantly, Shinkai does not attempt to judge humanity in this film. Despite the actions of the main characters seemingly leading to Tokyo's flooding, the film's finale tells us that this megacity was once an ocean. In reality, it is not people who ruined everything, but nature reclaiming its territory. Nature is merely taking back what is rightfully hers. Shinkai poses a literal question: are people or nature to blame for disasters? Or is no one to blame at all? In this film, Shinkai transitions from denying tragedy and trying to console himself to attempting to find the causes of these misfortunes. Does he find them? It seems so. But we will discover more in his next film. It was only after the release of Suzume that I realized Shinkai had created a cohesive trilogy. It's not just because, as he mentioned, the events of all three films occur in the same world, but because in Suzume, Shinkai completes his reflections on cataclysms inspired by the 2011 tragedy. The main character, Suzume, lost her mother in that very tragedy. For the first time, Shinkai depicts the real disaster, not a fictional one. Like many real people, Suzume left Fukushima for good. She lives in a small fishing town on Kyushu Island. One day, she meets a boy named Sota and accidentally unleashes a great evil, a giant worm that causes catastrophes. Together, they must defeat this evil. At first glance, the plot seems like another story about preventing tragedies, similar to Your Name. In her journey, Suzume closes mystical doors to prevent the worm from causing earthquakes. But this is not quite accurate. In reality, all the places Suzume visits are sites of past disasters. These are places where great tragedies have already occurred. Her first stop is Ehime Prefecture, where in 2018, possibly due to climate change, heavy rains caused landslides, severely affecting and completely abandoning several villages. From Ehime, she travels to Kobe, where the 1995 Great Hanshin-Awaji earthquake occurred, claiming over 6,000 lives. Finally, Suzume reaches Tokyo, where the connection to another seismic event is clear. Nearly 100 years ago, in 1923, the Great Kanto earthquake struck, killing over 140,000 people. Suzume doesn't just visit these cities, she visits the ruins left by these tragedies. An abandoned school, a closed amusement park, and by the end of the story, even her own ruined childhood home. Throughout this journey, she metaphorically closes the still open doors to a tragic past. Moreover, the very power to close these doors stems from memories of the past, from the lives of ordinary people who once filled these places. Suzume lights up the amusement park, inadvertently leads a girl to her former school to remember it, and as Shinkai said in an interview, she heals the wounds on Japan's body.
いろいろな種類の廃墟が出てきます。廃墟というのは、これはその国にある傷のようなものだと思うんですよね。国が自分の体だとして体にできてしまった傷が廃墟のようなものだと思います。ですから、スズメはこう日本という国にある傷を巡っていって、その傷をこう閉じていくんですよね。傷を戸締まりしていくわけです。そんなふうにその廃墟を戸締まりしていくことで、日本という国にある傷のある種の手当てをしていく。
But the most significant aspect of this story is Suzume's relationship with her mother. Throughout the film, there are hints that somewhere beyond the mystical doors, her mother awaits her. If Suzume does everything right, if she finds the strength and courage, she will be able to save her. Just like the protagonist of Your Name saved his beloved, who seemed to have already died in a tragedy. However, at the end of the film, and here come the spoilers, Suzume finds not her mother behind the door, but an older version of herself. It is not the resurrected mother who helps the heroine, but she herself. She has gone through hardships. She has grown up, and she must cope with her losses. Suzume does not undo the past. She does not seek excuses or reasons. She accepts that her mother is dead. But Suzume decides to live on, to move forward, not to look back, and not to open doors that lead nowhere. It seems to me that viewing these three films by Shinkai as a unified whole, as a thematic trilogy, removes many criticisms of them. Criticisms about repetitive plots, the use of similar images, and the repetition of certain scenes will certainly be present in films that together form a cohesive whole. At the same time, In their subtext, these films are completely different. If Shinkai's first film comforted the viewer, then the last one places responsibility on them. Through his characters, Shinkai says, yes, life is unfair. Yes, tragedies constantly occur. Yes, we cannot stop them. But we must keep living. We must heal these wounds and bring life back even to the places damaged by disasters.
僕たちはこう災害に囲まれているんだと、この先おそらく災害というのは減ってはいかないだろうと、災害と隣り合わせの日常を送っていかなければいけないんだということを2011年以上こう毎年毎年そういう気持ちが強くなっていってるんですね。
13 years and 3 films after a global catastrophe, Makoto Shinkai came to this conclusion. There's a feeling that now he too can move forward. We all have our tragedies and ruins, but as it seems to me, we should all find a way to cope with them. Not to deny them, not to try to blame others or ourselves, but to follow Shinkai's example, to accept them as inevitable, and genuinely try to overcome them. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to the channel and sharing it with your friends. And let me know in the comments, do you see Makoto Shinkai's films as a single connected trilogy or not?